Hello, kids. Welcome to part 2 of my Paw Patrol Theory video. This will be broken up into 2 parts. If y'all remember the last part, it was a bit rambly and it kind of didn't make sense, so I'm going to do a bit of a recap here. Basically, Ryder is a genetically engineered kid. The pups are genetically engineered as well. And Mayor Goodwin is a FBI agent that's basically telling all of the townsfolk what to do because the puppies are training to be super soldiers, basically. And Ryder's designed to be the handler. Now, the reason I think that they chose Ryder slash made Ryder specifically is what we're going to get into for part 2, and also why they're making the puppies, but we'll get into that a little bit later in the video if we have time. So, personally, I think Ryder was made specifically because he is a child and therefore not going to scare the puppies. I think the whole point is Ryder was designed specifically to not only not frighten the puppies, but let's say someone is visiting Adventure Bay that does not understand what is going on and is not a resident of Adventure Bay, they won't be as frightened because it's a kid leading this whole thing, not some big scary adult man. So, if a kid is visiting or something, they don't suspect anything. They just think, oh, it's just a dog and it's, boring as dogs. They're all good. And then also, not just that, it's easier probably for the government or whoever, I'm assuming government, to actually control a young person because they have very susceptible minds and they're like easily moldable, and if you get them early enough you could technically inject them with a mind control chip and force them to do whatever you wanted, um, at least in the case of this application. But he was built from the ground up specifically to follow other people's orders. So, and you never see the other people because, well, you're not supposed to. The point is, they've designed it so that they're calling the shots, but they make it look like he's calling the shots, just to kind of make it less awkward. And as far as why they chose FBI agent Goodwin specifically, I like to think they picked her because she is also, well, she's a very good actress and is very good at playing stupid. And because, well, she just is. And of course, she's got her little chicken, Chicoletta, which is really adorable. I personally think that she already had the chicken as a pet, and everybody was kind of laughing at her at the station or wherever she was, Quantico, I don't wherever she was, they were laughing at her about the chicken, and so of course she just tells them, "Well, it's my support chicken," which you can have support animals. I'm not bashing anybody that does. So support chicken, and so her superior, realizing that they have another project that's about to happen, and also seeing that the support chicken is causing a lot of problems, and the fact that she's also a very good actress because she used some of her acting skills to go into cover a few other times. The minus his little son's chicken. He's like, "Hey, we need you to be part of this new project here. We're gonna have you pretend to be the mayor, so you can take your chicken with you, and all you have to do is, make sure that you play dumb, act like not a simpleton, but act like you don't know what to do in a situation. And if you do need help, you call these particular things." And of course, she's laughing about the puppies. And she's like, "Puppies? Really? And a little boy? You expect that to work?" And then of course, they explain that it is going to work because it has been working in the not field setting. So they've made one and they set it up in a controlled laboratory setting, but they can't use them because they were lab controlled. So they needed to have some that are field controlled to have them actually usable out in the field for the military, because the military refuses to use the pups that were lab grown, lab bred and tested because they don't think they work because they do not help humans except in a sterile environment, which they need to have proof that it'll work. In a not sterile environment, the puppies that were actual lab puppies that were tested and worked on in the lab, they eventually do get out, and um, they don't say anything about it because it's not a problem. So they get out of the lab, but nothing comes of it because they don't last too long outside the lab. So it's not like it's like why does that matter? Well, it kind of does because then that actually involves some of the other instances that happen, some of the weird instances that happen. Like for example, um, some of the slightly smart cats, like the other mare. So the dogs actually get loose, but when they do get loose, they now the cats can't speak, but I'm gonna get to that real quick. So they get loose, and they're about to die, but the other mare, who actually is not really a mare at all, but like okay, he's a mare, but he's not. He's kind of like a bad guy. Okay, in the context of the show, he's a bad guy, but in the context of my particular theory, he's still a bad guy because he's actually secretly from another country's spy, but he infiltrated the next town over because the next town over is so close to Adventure Bay that he tries to take it over constantly, specifically because of the pups, because he knows that his country wants those puppies and wants riders, so he tries to purposely sabotage them to make the thing fail so that they'll be quote unquote put down put down, which basically means they'll be taken and put in a laboratory somewhere and just kind of locked up. They can't kill them because the government says you can't kill the puppies. They have to die out, either die in the field or of old age or some kind of something. It cannot be by murder. It actually has to be old age or in the field. Is it an in the field death, a field death as you would, because they don't want murder because it wouldn't look right. Also, they don't want them murdered because it would mess up their data. So they can't kill them, so they just lock them away in a building. So he's trying to purposely sabotage it so that they'll be put to death, basically, and so he can capture them. Because on the way to them being captured, he was planning to take them and send them to his other country so they could have the pups. Also, Mr. Fuzzy is here. Say hi, Mr. Fuzzy. Come to Mama. Come to Mama. Coming to Mama? No? Okay. So, yeah, that's how that happens and why that happens. And also, the pups end up, as far as the movie, I haven't seen it, so this theory does not include anything relating to the movie that may or may not contradict these things. Things may or may not be contradicted in the movie, but I haven't seen it, so we're gonna ignore the movie. So yeah, that's basically my theory for Paw Patrol. I have theories for other shows. Actually, I have a lot of them. Like, for example, I have a Toot and Puddle theory that involves the both of them being, because, well, being boyfriends. I think they're not brothers. I can't remember. That theory is contingent on the fact that they are not brothers. I have to double check that because I have not seen the show in a while. And that theory is set around the series, not the books. Because the books don't count because, well, I haven't read the books in years. I've only read one of the books, and I don't like to count books when I do theory adaptation, theories about things, unless it's Harry Potter, because the books sometimes have more information than the movies. But I usually try to stick if the thing in question is based on a book, I try to make the theory based on the show or movies instead, because sometimes it's easier, especially if I haven't read the book or whatever. But also, I don't like to use the book as source material other than in Harry Potter because regardless of if the book has more info, it's not likely I've read it. Because I don't usually, I mean, I do read, but like, I've never read Game of Thrones. So if I made a Game of Thrones theory, it would be about the series, which I still haven't watched. But to be fair, we didn't have HBO when it was going on, so I didn't have access. And the few times I did have access to HBO, I couldn't watch anyway because we didn't have the time. But now that we have Max, I'm gonna actually watch all of Game of Thrones while I can, and I will be watching um, House of Dragons as well. But and there will be a review of that after I watch the first episode of each, because I'm gonna watch the first episode of House of Dragons and the first episode of um, Game of Thrones just to see, because I'll use the first episode to determine whether or not I want to finish both series. So I might finish Game of Thrones and not House of Dragons. Although I should try. I mean, I do have a Targaryen? Targaryen? Okay. I don't know how to say that. We're gonna say Targaryen. I'm probably saying that wrong. If, Game of Thrones fans, please correct me because I don't want to say it wrong. I'm gonna just say Targaryen because I don't know how I'm saying that right. But I have a Targaryen robe. Y'all won't get to see that. Well, you might see it. I might make a video about how fluffy it is because it is fluffy. I use it very often because it's mostly for like when it's cold and or if we have company and I have to cover up more. But I usually don't use it too often. Not because I don't like it. I love it. It's just one of those things that I don't use as often because it's so nice. I don't want to potentially ruin it. But yeah, so that aside, that is my Paw Patrol theory. Like I said, I have more theories coming. But for right now, that's the only one you're gonna get because I do have to upload the other one and the other videos, which I've just been kind of busy, so I haven't been able to. But I will get to that when I get to that. I will see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.